제 전부 쏟던 힘이 정도는 모놈 전부 가게다 아그러다는 전도 실물도 또 마트지 잔라기 점사라는 저러 증이 장근서 저거 특기 선로 열라면 이제 본조장로 소란 공기 도반 보러 신지로
The supreme, profound, and sublime Dharma is difficult to encounter in a billion eons. Now I see it, hear it, receive it, and capture it. I vow to attain the true meaning of the Tathagata. In order to liberate all sentient beings, let us generate the supreme bodhicitta. Let us now continue with our journey to the West. It seems that many of you still have not received the actual book. The hard copies. I heard that nowadays there are people selling the books online, some 133 RMB, some 140, some 56, some 90-ish. Different places were selling at different pricings, but we at Larangar somehow could not land our hands on any copies at all. Well, in that way, then maybe you can just visualize you have the hard copy and then just look at the books. Well, let's look at the text. It says that the sixth mind training or instructions from a sublime master are the path that leads to the palace of liberation like a perfect staircase. This mind training means that the way to free yourself from samsara and achieve liberation cannot be accomplished through just your own efforts. It can only be learned and accomplished by relying on teachings of sublime masters. For instance, if you want to go to the top of a high building, you won't be able to make it without climbing the stairs or taking an elevator. In the same way, without the instructions from a sacred master, even if you study the scriptures and other Dharma texts, you won't be able to fully understand them with just your own intelligence. Especially when it comes to the Vajrayana Dharma teachings, there are people who would purchase the Vajrayana texts and then they would feel that they can gain the knowledge of it, but that is not true. Without the explanation and teachings and guidance from a Lama, one would not be able to grasp the meaning of it, though it may appear that the words are the same. It is really not the same. There are people who would purchase texts such as Lama Yanti, such as Yeshe Lama, such as the Luminous Essence, and so on. After buying a whole bunch of those books without faith, without the faith instructions from the Lama, then the books are the books. They're no different than manuals from a business, from a corporation. Your mind stream will not be able to enter into the vast ocean of that Dharma. So sometimes I really think to myself that encountering the lamas, it is not just to meet them in person, rather it is how much the lama had taught. You have to understand the teachings, and we have already received that. We should indeed feel really fortunate of it. Without the teachings and examples set by the lama, then we would not be able to know what to adopt and what to reject. Therefore, the instructions from a teacher are of vital importance. If there is no qualified teacher to teach you, you will not know how to abstain from negativity and practice virtue. You would be totally at a loss and as ignorant as animals. Only when you are accepted and guided by virtuous teachers will you get to know the extraordinary method that not only brings peace and happiness within this lifetime, but also leads to joy and happiness after life. Such a teacher is hard to encounter, and even 100,000 wish-fulfilling jewels cannot compare with his or her value. Now that we have already encountered such a wonderful teacher, and this is really rare, we need to understand that. There are people who are called as teachers, as lamas, but how many of them truly hold the key of attaining happiness and peace life after life? We really need to make sure that we see study and seek the true teacher. There are 3 ways to please the teacher while relying on him or her: to practice virtue and abandon negative deeds, let go of attachment to this life, and focus solely on the pursuit of liberation is the best. This is the best way of pleasing the teacher. And to follow the teacher's instructions and wholeheartedly devote oneself to the activities of the teacher, including being sent on a mission, is the middling way of relying on the teacher. And the minimum way to please the teacher is to offer all of what you have to the teacher and teacher's Dharma center, and to participate in all kinds of virtuous activities initiated by the teacher, such as building Buddha statues and so on. All 3 ways are indispensable to please and serve your teacher. Nowadays, I think there are many people who would mistakenly take that pleasing one's teacher is to offer whatever you have to the teacher and teacher's Dharma activities. But that is not true. A true teacher would value your own practice to adopt a virtue and abandon negative deeds and practice the Dharma as the most surpassing way of the best way of pleasing the teacher. Let me reiterate the 3 ways of following the guru. When encountering a guru who is as precious as a wish-fulfilling jewel, it is best that you follow his or her instructions to forsake negative deeds and engage in virtuous practice. If you're unable to accomplish that, then you should earnestly do whatever the master needs you to do, such as building shrine halls, making statues of Buddha, printing scriptures, erecting stupas, and so on. Nowadays, it seems that there are people who have so much of those kinds of habitual tendencies of making business out of it. Even at the beginning, a disciple probably made the aspiration to print scriptures and making statues of Buddhas and so on as an activity to offer to the guru. But then later, because of their habitual tendencies, they would take that on as a business. So we need to pay attention to that. If this is also beyond your ability, at the very least, you should generously offer all of your possessions to the teacher and his or her Dharma center. Over here, all of the possession, I think it's probably too difficult, but I think it is all of the possessions that you would not you would not feel stingy. You would not be stingy to give. You would generously offer all of that kind of generous offering of the possessions. If you are stingy to maybe $1 or two to $100, then it is the best for you not to do that. If you're very generous and not having any kinds of grasping to $1 or two, then you can offer that. That would be really good too. If you fail to serve the teacher through any of the 3 ways, the fact that you have obtained the precious human rebirth and encountered a qualified guru will be completely wasted. I really think that the best way to rely on a teacher is to engage in study, practice, and contemplation, because this is the way where you would not create harm to yourself nor the teacher. You would not have any grasping to the possession. You would not have any negative thoughts. Especially when it comes to making offering, a monetary and financial offering to a lama. If the lama is a mundane being and have lots of grasping to financial wealth, then after having lots of monetary offerings, it's very difficult to say what a mundane guru would do with those kinds of money and what you would feel about that. So the best would be to engage in your own study contemplation meditation and practice of the dharma, that would be the safest. And then Phuntsok Rinpoche continued to say that for my part, I don't think you should show excessive devotion and reverence to me, a person you've just met for just the first time and don't even know if I have faults or merit. Because at that time, lots of the disciples had lots of reverence to Phuntsok Rinpoche and lots of devotion to him. So Phuntsok Rinpoche was a little worried if they would show excessive devotion to him. The masters you should serve and work for with great veneration are those from your own Dharma centers who always stay with you and can bring you true benefit, or those who reside in this country and are familiar to you. The seventh mind training, non-conceptual concentration, is the basis for emergence of all states of samadhi, like a fertile field. This is to say that if you want to achieve the same state of samadhi as those attained by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you must first have mastery over your own mind and abide in meditative concentration. Thus, you must make an effort to practice meditation. This instruction is on the 7 common mind trainings, and now they're all completed. The morning session of empowerment was scheduled to be 2 hours, but since the last part of the ritual failed to be completed in due time, it was extended for half an hour. That was really out of my control, so please forgive me. In fact, Phuntsok Rinpoche at that time really tried very hard to finish the entire empowerment and the translation within the time period, but it was prolonged for half an hour. The translator kept on trying to translate faster and faster, but at the end, the time was still got extended, so he appeared to be a little bit unhappy about that. If he were to be teaching at Tibet, then everybody would be very happy about Phuntsok Rinpoche keep going on with the Dharma teachings. But Phuntsok Rinpoche over here apologized for extending the class for half an hour. At Sogyal Rinpoche's center in France, he said that you can teach as long as you wish or as short as you wish, and they're all my disciples. I can make that decision for sure. So Phuntsok Rinpoche was really relaxed and kept on teaching for a long period of time. And then at that time, Phuntsok Rinpoche continued to say that I will end this session exactly after 2 hours. There is nothing left. You must be happy about that. Now this is the time to go home and sleep, and people started laughing. Maybe at that time, I believe it was in the afternoon. It was about 4 p.m. and people probably felt that it was really quite too early to go to sleep. Now let's look at 2 profound practices. On July 11th, Choji conferred the empowerment of Peaceful Manjushri and Vajrakilaya Gokirkama. During the empowerments, Rinpoche gave a concise teaching. Both Peaceful Manjushri and Vajrakilaya Gokirkama cycles have their own auxiliary teachings, and they're very few in number, not as many as other Dharma teachings in Nyingma tradition. In terms of its content, the Peaceful Manjushri provides the stage-by-stage instruction for the complete path to full awakening, including the practical and skillful methods for the preliminary and main practices. It can be explained by the combination of the teachings from the outer aspect, the prophecies from the inner aspect, and the instructions from the secret aspect. It also can be taught according to the tantras, the 7-line prayer, or the shastras. Basically, most of my Dharma compositions were completed in my teenage years. In general, they were all composed because of the request of others. And once they were done, I'd entrust them to the one who made the request without ever bothering to take care of them. Nevertheless, some of my disciples have collected my works of composition and compiled them into books, which now comprise 4 volumes. They have been made into wood carvings, a traditional Tibetan handicraft for printing scriptures, while their circulations is mainly through modern printing technologies. Among my works, some of them, such as Peaceful Manjushri Cycle, are classified into teachings composed in the Han Chinese region, and Vajrayana Gurkurkma Cycle includes a series of teachings such as rituals for confessing and restoring damage and broken vows that is used in the extensive practice, as well as others like prayer of subjugating activities, fire offerings, and all of that were composed at the request of Gyalwai Rinpoche and the Natural Protector. This category of teaching plus accomplishing all activity, a daily practice of great and glorious Dorji Trullo, a terma that I reviewed at Paro Taksam, and the quintessence of oceanic prayers of aspiration that I composed at the Vajra seat are all classified into teaching composed in India. This time, I have given you the transmission of the Peaceful Manjushri and Vajrakilaya Gurkurkma, which can be found in the text in your hands. So now I am going to give you part of the oral transmission, because the majority of the empowerments and so on and transmissions were given by Toku already. So I'll give you the oral transmission of the lineage aspiration prayer of Peaceful Manjushri, as well as the quintessence of oceanic prayer of aspiration, also the aspiration prayer of Vajrakilaya Gurkurkma. These I have all given it to you before at Larangar, but as an dependent arising, I will read it to you. I'll give you the oral transmission to all of you. Pontsog Rinpoche once said that between I and Manjushri, there is no one else who parted you from this teaching. And these teachings I have already received it directly from Pontsog Rinpoche, directly from the place where he reviewed those termas. So first of all, the Vajrakilaya.
Wanchin la soran de so chana varcha chu yeron jimzit gama chubji yaw zapsu gama je putrum je wanshin ye la soran de so chana varcha so shujim samar zeki proje na ke sakum hayir number sad sanchir chanchib semgir sarzog de yansan tiglerung bam ngongir sho jibanda churukte ton lero lan bi yanch ringzin jigme ponso jone jarnga ne ki tagnan param gurkuma gendib jigum jogo ji kurma chirtır nawa tar lermun rero shirtige no tanzin jams woda khchtar da dımbi tse khchig shodo khchir gupsu tambalor da dımbi tse nyasımla tripa gelgum par.
Now that the previous one was the lineage aspiration to Vajrakilaya Gurkurkma. Then the next one is the lineage prayer of Peaceful Manjushri. It includes the prayer from all the lineage masters.
Jahur jujubji ginde tap surmen jigso choyam tapter churki jankamsa kya chuchurdang domi sansazan jahur kendo zon soran de kadam ngosur tobra shinji rananam talon ki jankamsa nibar ngardan takjib shigjar zon jahur dorjen changla soran de nojam tarab shimbir shinji lo mangin rodar churki jankamsa kandar churi rora cheon jahur ishi sangor soran de tanju tonchen jabr shinji lo ne chen ruwa tsengi jankamsa jahur takjib shinlo ilar man jingme panzog jala soran Gongji Tokban Poro Shinji Lo Zhanyang Tsab Yedab Lama Yedam La Kandro Tamjim Chilak Soran de Shinlo Ngujum Choktun Chunlin Je Varchin Tatak Jibrib Shinji Lop Tertik Sorab Tab Shinlib Ki Tsendr Chuch Lakso Gondam Pere Shimanjin Chok Lama Gimchir Dang Yermit Somak Chigda Jibr Shogo Jiban De Gang Lama Choyang Dang Sudun Soki Jekung Jinda Ngao Lojum Som Chile Jamcho Ruwa Tsengi Yang Asri Chupugda Kopa Ge Go 然后是那个远海清水，刚才这些都出在这里，所以我们还是象征性的给大家交付一下。
Molum Jamsu Yang Yang Gamsan Zhenga Nima Jisha Jigso, Rang Sozong Huarji Chumberg, Yang Lok Chip Dan Batsang, Stop Jion the Gunner Zobot, Tawang Hai, Hamchok Gons, Surdung Sumji, Chechernari, Gungo Sijin the Juniors, and Tony Doba Yujin George, Lami Shantum Shot the Center, Dr. Kajun Jogan, Randon Jib de Huarla Machok, Jamban Hobo Sanger, Jamjan, and Jibber to be drawn to the Tia and the Yacht. Jawr Gijin Jizon, Econo Zambor Mon left and Beshan, Shuba, Yamson Darjan, Namjan, Jacob, Gendarmons, and Yavit Serto, Stag the Jamjan, Yenim, Chok the Deer Lapton, Chine Perum, Tato, Zangalim, Jervis, Sender Putsev, Dechin Jander, Kie, Womson, Tomber, Songo, Longton, Kipsini, Sergeants over the Tremor Kertan Tarjan, Rimin Jordan Pande, Huargin, Sotigan, Yilar, Momban, the Konam, Tanger Songo, Wayon, Prashi Kanji, Pansor David, Mali Kegin, Susan Mashir, Gubab Tarjamani, Gelach no Sassam, Cabra, Show, Jiban Yero, Dorjam, Shantu Chung, Gam, Dejan Sherbi, Jong de Ngan Lojum, Somet, Pe, Mumba, Jende, Lar Japable, Iker Kopa, Gego, Sonaman, Dai, Tamchada, Zigba. Tomna Nipe Jana Panshi Jan Kirga Nanchi Ralon Chuba Chubum Solen Jova Jorvara Jo